Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you are on a large boat in the middle of the ocean. You have been traveling for many days and many nights. The air is cold and the waves are high. Suddenly, you see something in the distance. It is a tall green figure holding a bright light. This is the Statue of Liberty. For over 100 years, she has stood in New York Harbor. But my friends, have you ever stopped to wonder why she is there? She is not just a big statue made of metal. She is a symbol of something very deep. She represents the idea that every person should be free. When people see her for the first time, they often feel a sense of peace. She is like a quiet friend waiting to say hello. She tells us that we are safe and that we are home. In this story, we will learn about how she was made. It was not an easy task. It took many years, many people, and a lot of heart. Are you ready to hear her story? Let's begin our journey together. Think about the city of New York. It is a place of loud noises and tall buildings. But Lady Liberty stands on her own island, away from the noise. She watches the sun rise every morning. She has seen many things in her life. She has seen big ships and small boats. She has seen wars, and she has seen peace. Yet she stays exactly where she is. She is a beacon, which means she is a guiding light. In the dark of the night, her torch shines bright. It shows the way for those who are lost or tired. This statue is a gift, but it is also a promise. It is a promise that freedom is important for everyone. Let's look back in time to see where this promise started. Our story starts in a country far away called France. It was the year 1865. A man named Edouard de La Boulaye had a big idea. He loved the idea of freedom. He also loved the United States. He thought, what if France gave America a giant gift? He wanted to celebrate the friendship between the two countries. You see, France helped America during its big war for independence. They were like best friends who helped each other in hard times. La Boulaye wanted a monument to show this love. There was another man at the dinner table that night. His name was Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi. He was an artist and a sculptor. When he heard the idea, his eyes lit up. Bartholdi began to dream of a giant woman. He didn't want a statue of a soldier or a king. He wanted a statue that represented liberty. He wanted her to look strong but kind. He traveled to America to find the perfect spot. When he sailed into New York Harbor, he saw Bedloe's Island. He thought, this is it. This is where she must stand. But building a giant statue is very expensive. It costs a lot of money to buy metal and pay workers. At first, the government did not want to pay for it. Bartholdi did not give up. He was a man with a vision. He went back to France and started to work on small models. He wanted people to see his dream. He told everyone that this was a gift from the people of France to the people of America. It was not from one government to another. It was a gift from the heart of the citizens. Imagine the courage it took to start such a big project. They didn't have the machines we have today. They only had their hands, their tools, and their big dreams. Every part of the Statue of Liberty has a special meaning. Bartholdi did not choose her look by accident. Every detail tells a little story about freedom. First, look at her right hand. She holds a torch high in the air. This torch represents light. It means that liberty lights the way to a better life. Then look at her left hand. She holds a tablet, which is like a stone book. On it, there are Roman numerals. They show the date, July 4th, 1776. Do you know why that date is important? It is the day America became a free country. The tablet represents the law. It says that freedom must be protected by fair rules. Now look at her head. She wears a crown with 7 sharp points. These points are like rays of sun. They represent the 7 seas and the 7 continents of the world. This means that liberty is for everyone, everywhere. It is not just for one country. It is a message for the whole planet. But there is a detail that many people miss. You have to look at her feet. She is standing among broken chains. Do you know what chains mean? Chains are used to hold people back. When the chains are broken, it means the people are finally free. Lady Liberty is walking forward, away from those chains. She is not standing still, she is moving. This tells us that freedom is a journey. We must always keep moving toward it. Isn't it wonderful how much thought went into her design? Even her face is special. Some people say she looks like Bartholdi's mother. She looks calm, serious, and very strong. How do you build a statue that is 151 feet tall? That is like a building with 15 floors. This was a very difficult problem for the engineers. Bartholdi knew how to make the statue look beautiful, but he needed someone to make it stand up against the wind. The wind in the harbor is very strong. He asked a famous engineer named Gustav Eiffel for help. Does that name sound familiar? Yes, he is the same man who built the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Eiffel was a genius with metal. He designed an iron skeleton for the inside of the statue. It was like the bones inside your body. These bones hold the statue up. The skin of the statue is made of copper. Copper is the same metal used to make some coins. It is very thin, about the thickness of 2 pennies put together. The workers had to hammer the copper into the right shapes. This is called the repoussé method. It was very loud and very hard work. They built the statue in pieces in a workshop in Paris. First the head, then the arms, and then the body. People in Paris could see her growing over the rooftops. One of the coolest things about Eiffel's design is that it can move. When the wind blows hard, the statue sways just a little bit. This keeps the metal from breaking. Imagine being a worker high up in the air. You are hammering metal while the wind blows around you. It was a dangerous and amazing job. They had to make sure every piece fit perfectly. There were thousands of pieces. It was like the biggest 3D puzzle in the history of the world. Even with a great design, they had a big problem. They ran out of money. The French people were giving coins, but it wasn't enough. In America, things were also difficult. The Americans were supposed to build the pedestal. The pedestal is the big stone base that the statue stands on. But many Americans didn't want to pay for it. They said, "Why should we pay for a gift?" The project almost stopped completely. Then, a man named Joseph Pulitzer had an idea. He owned a newspaper called The World. He used his paper to talk to the people. He said, "It doesn't matter if you are rich or poor. Please give what you can." He promised to print the name of every person who gave money in his newspaper. Something amazing happened. Children sent in their pennies. Workers sent in a few cents. Even people who had very little money wanted to help. In a short time, they had enough money. This showed that the Statue of Liberty belonged to everyone. It was not a gift from a king. It was a gift from the people. In France, they also had contests and shows to raise money. Everyone was excited. They felt like they were part of something historic. This part of the story teaches us a lesson. When many people work together, they can do impossible things. Even a few pennies can help build a giant. Finally, the statue was finished in France. But now they had to figure out how to get her to America. She was much too big for one ship. To move Lady Liberty, they had to take her apart. Can you imagine that? They spent years building her, and then they had to unscrew every piece. They packed her into 214 large wooden crates. It was like packing a giant suitcase for a long trip. The crates were put on a ship named the Isère. The trip across the Atlantic Ocean was very rough. The ship carried over 200 tons of metal. The sailors were worried because the weather was bad, but the ship arrived safely in New York in June 1885. The people of New York were so happy. Thousands of people came to the docks to see the crates. However, the pedestal was not finished yet. The crates sat on the island for a whole year. Lady Liberty had to wait in her boxes. Finally, the base was ready. Now came the hard part, putting the puzzle back together. The workers had to climb high into the air. They used long bolts and heavy tools. There were no computers to help them. They had to be very careful. One mistake could be a disaster. Slowly, she began to rise. First the feet, then the robes, and finally the head. The copper was still a bright brownish-orange color back then. Did you know she wasn't always green? Copper changes color when it stays outside in the rain and air. Over time, she turned the beautiful green we see today. Rebuilding her was a celebration. Every day, she looked more like a queen. The dream was finally becoming a reality on American soil. The date was October 28, 1886. It was a rainy and foggy day in New York. But the weather did not stop the celebration. There was a massive parade in the streets. People were cheering and music was playing. It was one of the biggest parties New York had ever seen. The President of the United States, Grover Cleveland, was there. Many important people from France were there too. Everyone wanted to see the new Colossus. Bartholdi was very excited. He climbed up into the torch of the statue. He was holding a rope attached to a French flag that covered the statue's face. When it was time, Bartholdi pulled the rope. The flag fell away. For the first time, the world saw the face of Lady Liberty. The crowd went wild. Ships in the harbor blew their whistles. People cheered so loudly that you could hear them for miles. President Cleveland gave a speech. He said that the statue's light would shine for the whole world. He promised that America would always care for her. It was a moment of pure joy. Two countries, separated by a giant ocean, were united in friendship. They had finished what they started 20 years before. Think about how Bartholdi felt at that moment. His dream was standing tall. He had turned an idea into a giant made of metal and stone. Even though it was raining, the spirit of the people was bright. They knew they were witnessing history. Lady Liberty was finally home. Not long after the statue was built, a place called Ellis Island opened nearby. This was the place where millions of people came to enter America. These people were called immigrants. They left their homes in Europe because they were hungry, poor, or treated badly. They wanted a new life. For these people, the Statue of Liberty was the first thing they saw. Imagine being on a ship for weeks, feeling tired and scared. Then you see her. She looked like a mother welcoming her children. She gave them hope. She promised them that in this new land, they could be free and safe. A poet named Emma Lazarus wrote a very famous poem about the statue. You might know the words. She called her the Mother of Exiles. The poem says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." These words are now written inside the pedestal. This changed the meaning of the statue. At first, she was a gift of friendship between countries. But then, she became a symbol of a new beginning. For a young child on a boat, Lady Liberty was a sign of magic. For a father looking for work, she was a sign of opportunity. She stood there as millions of people passed by. Each person had a different story, but they all had the same dream. They wanted a better future. Even today, Many Americans have grandparents who cried when they saw the statue. She is part of their family history. She is the face of the American dream. Today, Lady Liberty is over 140 years old. She is a bit older, and her green skin is a bit thicker, but she is still as strong as ever. Millions of tourists visit her every year. They climb the stairs to her crown and look out over the ocean. They take photos and learn her story. But she is more than a tourist attraction. She is a reminder. She reminds us that freedom is not a gift that stays forever. We must protect it. In our modern world, we still face many challenges. There are still people who are not free. There are still people looking for a safe home. When we look at Lady Liberty, we should think about those people. Her torch is still lit. Her message is still welcome. What does liberty mean to you? Is it the right to speak your mind? Is it the chance to go to school? Or is it the feeling of being safe in your bed? Lady Liberty tells us that these things are important for every human being. She doesn't care where you come from or what language you speak. As we finish our story, I want you to remember the copper and the iron. I want you to remember the pennies given by children and the dream of an artist. Most of all, I want you to remember her light. Even when the world feels dark, there is always hope. There is always a way to build something beautiful. Thank you for listening to the story of the Statue of Liberty. May your own path always be lit by the torch of freedom.